Have you ever wondered what LEDs do? Well, we have different uses for them. We have for something such as scanning items. Well, in this case, we have for gas prices. If you're a YouTuber like me, you probably want to keep count of your subscribers. Well, there's different ways you can actually keep count of your subscribers. As we can see, there's many videos online, as you can see, many formats, but those are probably older videos, and some of the content won't apply nowadays. But if you join me, I'm going to show you step by step on how you can actually get your counter up and running. If you're not a YouTuber, that's okay. You can still be entertained by this. Or if maybe you want to become a YouTuber, maybe this can inspire you. Regardless, we all want to keep a count, and this is how you do it. Stay tuned. So first we want to start off with our ESP8266 module. This is the Arduino Wi-Fi board, and we're just basically going to start soldering up all the points here on both sides with these connectors. Okay. Okay. One side down, one to go. So I get the light in here. Okay. Not the best soldering job, but it gets done. I'll fix that now. Oh, and I should have stated this in the beginning. I am not the best solderer, but just the basics. Okay, once you have the pins soldered, you're going to use the wiring diagram that I'll provide here on the screen. And once you solder it together, it'll look something like this. So you got the soldering, the pins, and the connectors here. Okay. All right, guys. So it's the next day, and last you saw, I finished soldering, and basically that was about the semi hardest part, I guess. Uh, Once you have it soldered, all you got to do is just connect the wiring, the pins, and a little bit of information. I traveled into the future with this video, of course, and I was able to find out in my future travels that there were some issues and I wasn't able to actually get it up and running. So I spent the majority of the evening troubleshooting and I was able to figure it out. So basically, one of the main issues that we oversee is that there's a lot of videos that cover how to do the subscriber count, how to do some of the partial coding and things of that nature. But if you notice, a lot of them don't go into detail for the actual programming of the board for the Arduino boards, and they also don't go a lot into detail of the API key that you'll need. So that's probably why a lot of the videos are probably outdated, because it could possibly be that the API key for those videos are no longer working. And so there is a need to be able to make sure that those API keys are not running out or expiring. And I think that's one of the main key components. So I'm gonna walk you through how to set these up, and join me along also as I set up the software on the Arduino, flash the board, and as well as set up the software and the API key as well too. Okay, so here we have one of the two videos that I used. I'm listing these videos as reference because I basically started with one video. The initial video that I started with was the one mentioned from Hack Made Mod. So big ups to them. Big help they were and able to inspire my video. And they provided the hardware. So I actually bought their hardware, in which you can see or go to their kit store and buy it from there. However, I actually followed the steps, and this is what worked for me. So this may be different on each case scenario, but I actually followed the software used from EV and his library setup. Here you can see that he posted this video in 2021, but he has a different method, and this is because he's using the same ESP 8266 board, which is the WeMOS. However, the one that I purchased from the Hack Made Mod is a different manufacturer, so there are some internal parameters or factors that are different. So I couldn't follow the same strategy as EVCHA. However, after doing some troubleshooting, and I'll mention that further in the video, I was able to get it up and working. So just for your reference, just so you know how I'm doing it and what works for me, I use the hardware from Hackmade Mod Builds Kit, and I use the software and libraries and methods from EVG. Okay, next step, I'm gonna go ahead and plug it in, and it's gonna power up. Here we'll be able to see that it's already configured and it says linked, and you'll see that it has my channel configurations, meaning that I already loaded the software onto the Arduino board, and it's using an API key that I created from Google Console Cloud, and I put it in the Arduino software, the same library mentioned from EVCHA. I just put my parameters into it and then uploaded it, and I was able to get it up and running. As you can see, I have 27 million. It's just no, I'm just kidding. It just has 27, but you guys will help me grow that, right? That would be awesome. So yeah, so I'll go ahead step by step and show and restart the process, as a matter of fact. So I'll go ahead and flash this board as if it had nothing on it, so that we can take these steps together step by step, so we can get your counter up and running. Okay, so one of the things that I started off, but I think EVJ explains it way better than I do. So go ahead and follow his video on how to install the libraries. It's very useful. He really goes into detail. So I don't feel I really should do it, but I'll just show you a quick example of how I have it like. I basically have it exactly how he mentioned it, having the libraries and his folder with his code as well too in the folder, the root folder. So once you have that up, just make sure that you open it. And I guess this is the second time I record this. What I'm trying to get out of this is make sure you have the correct, first off, the COM port. You'll notice that there's either a communication there. If I were to disconnect it now, you'll see that it'll disappear. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's disconnect it. It disappears. So we see COM4 5. Let's see what else appears. Oh, okay, never mind. COM4 is still there. Let's give it a quick make sure again. Oh, there it is. Disappeared. There it is. Disappeared. So I know that it's COM5. So I'm going to go ahead and plug it back in. There you go. It's looking for the Wi-Fi. It's linked because I already have it programmed, but I'll go ahead and flash it for you. So I'm going to go ahead and, oh, and the other thing that I wanted to make sure is make sure you have the correct board. I cannot stress that enough. The first time I was trying it with the one that EVJ mentioned, but it just didn't work for me. I kept on going into errors. So I went to the generic ESP8266 module, or selected that as my board. And then, of course, I flash it with my key and my API key and channel ID as well. And so I selected this as my board, and that's when I was able to have it program into the Arduino board. You always want to skip any updates. You want to keep the libraries as is, and then basically update the keys as well as mentioned and your channel ID. So something like this, right? And then we click upload. And then you're going to see that it's communicating. This may take about a minute or so. And there you go. Once you see that it's writing, kind of like how mine is, you see it counting up in percentage, we know it can establish that it has connected, it has communication, and it's successfully uploading the code onto the Arduino board. Okay, we're going to see that it's linked. And the last step along with it would be just to make sure that you connect to it and put your Wi-Fi info. So here I am, because once you connect it, of course, it's not going to have any counts in the counter. So you just want to make sure that it's connected correctly. And then you'll be greeted. You'll see once it successfully logs, or once it says Wi-Fi connected, you'll see that it shows the Wi-Fi on your phone. I'm going to go ahead and reset it just to show you. So I'm going to go into this step here that says Wi-Fi reset it, and this will work for anything that you want to reset the Wi-Fi to. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. So there, I deleted that. So you'll see that it'll take off the connection. So let's go ahead and upload. It'll take a second, and we'll see that this will erase once it finishes loading as well, or compiling the code. Okay, and so there it's reset, and you'll see that it's stuck in the Wi-Fi as intended. That's because it erased the parameters for the Wi-Fi, which is what I wanted to do intentionally. So I'm gonna go back here, and I'm gonna put it back on, because once I save it, I want to keep it that way. So I'll go ahead and comment that out as well. Okay, and I'm gonna write it again, because I'm gonna write it so that every time I turn it on, it doesn't reset the Wi-Fi. So I commented it out. So I take off the reset, and it's writing it all over again. Oh, I ran into an error. I exited out, or actually I commented out the wrong one. So now what I want to comment out is this one, the same one that says for testing, right? Now we can write it. So that'll take another minute or so. Okay. So experiencing issues, that's okay. But what we'll do is, I guess it's doing that because I have to set up the Wi-Fi first. So that makes sense. That makes sense. So you can see here that it has the YouTube counter. So I'll go ahead and choose that. And it's going to connect to that. and it's going to ask me for the SSID and of course the password, right? So then once we connect that with our phones, it's going to bring this screen. This is actually the script and the coding that was done by Viche, and I believe as well the Swedish maker. So basically, you just want to configure your Wi-Fi. So we're going to go ahead and put in the SSID. I'll go ahead and do that. Once we put in our SSID and everything, it's saving the credentials, and it says linked, and we will see that it's linked to our counter and to our channel, or in this case, it'll be with yours. And I think that's probably the second to third most important steps, along with the API key as well. So I went ahead and I did it off camera, but it'll save you about a minute or so of time. I went ahead and resubmit or put up the comments. I commented out the reset settings and I wrote to it and it wrote it again. So that means now that the counter, it's going to have the SSID saved along with the password. So every time if it loses powers or anything or Wi-Fi connection, it should connect back automatically. And the last step, well, I guess I should have done this previously, but is the API. So what you want to do is, if you don't have one yet, you could go ahead and create it. So what we can do is go to Google Console, and we'll go ahead and select that. And I already have it here. I already have a project, right? But basically what we're going to do, here I have my sub counter, and here I have it. But what you'll do is you'll create a new project. You'll name your project. You go ahead and create it. Okay, once it's created, you select the project and you want to go to the quick access, or actually not the quick access, sorry. You want to go to API services. You go to credentials. You go to library, and then you just look for YouTube Data API version 3. Click that, enable. And then once you have it created, first you create the credentials. Sorry, seem to be having some issues. Library. There's I have my select my project, my new one. Now I go to YouTube Data API version 3, manage, create credentials, YouTube Data API version 3. I use this as user data. Next. Oh no, sorry. You just go to YouTube Data, manage, create credentials, put this as either user data, public. Okay, and there we go. And this is the key that we're gonna put in the code here, in the Arduino code. Click done. And if you need to go back to it, you just go back to credentials. You make sure you're under your project, API key and show key, and you can copy it